Tottenham are looking to sign a new central defensive leader for their back four as a priority this summer. That is coming from Alistair Gold of Football.London. It's news that we, to be honest, expected, but Gold has given us an insight into the targets Tottenham have potentially identified to be their new big centre-back. I'm joined today by Marcelo. 2 days in a row, we're being absolutely spoiled to discuss all the potential targets we have, plus why it's so important for Spurs to bring in a central defensive leader this summer. But before we do get into all that, Marcelo, again, thank you so much for your time. How are you getting on today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good, and no problem. I want to be back. I want to be doing content with you guys again. You know, the people miss it. I miss it. Everybody wants it. So let's give it to the people. You know what I mean? That's why Matty
Absolutely.
Hayes is the people's champion, man, because he gives the content that people need.
I do. I try my hardest to do that, but it's always easy when I have people like you and David on the channel with me. But look, let's dive straight into this. The story from Alistair Gold, as it says there, is Tottenham Hotspur are looking to sign a new central defensive leader for their back four as a priority this summer. Football.London understands. Football.London also understands that Tottenham are looking to bring in not only a leader for their backline, but also, if possible, someone with Premier League experience. And that would bring us on to our first target that he has identified for Spurs, which is the Fulham's on loan Fulham centre half, plays with Leon, Joachim Andersen. He's one player Tottenham have looked at a number of times in the past, and the Dane, who turns 25 in May, has impressed while on loan in the Premier League with Fulham. Not only has the Denmark international been an ever-present in Scott Parker's side since recovering from ruptured ankle ligaments in the summer, but he's also worn the captain's armband in more than half of his Premier League appearances for Fulham, despite it being his debut season in the capital. First, before we read a few more bits of what Gola said there, Marcelo, how impressive is that for you that a player, his first ever season in English football, his first season with Fulham, for more than half of his appearances he's held the captain's armband? Like, what does that say about his leadership?
Look, it's what we need right now. We need leaders on the pitch, and I was telling you that I wasn't too big on Joaquin, but the more you talk about him, the more I am actually getting impressed by the guy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I don't watch Fulham all that much, aside from when we played them, and when they fought, they played against Liverpool and some of the bigger teams. I have been impressed lately, though, how sturdy Fulham has gotten, and how they're able to hold out against Liverpool and get that one goal and win games. So and largely that was due to Joachim or Andersen. He's he's only 24, so he could he's a guy that Mourinho or whoever is the next manager could develop, right? And he's a guy that we can look for in the future, because what I'm looking at right now, I want two guys around their prime, but still young, to come in and have a long partnership at Spurs and the center back, like the Jan Vertonghen and Toby. We need that back. We need that, like, a partnership back. And Joachim, he does seem like a good player. He does seem like a player that would improve us, and he's certainly better than Dyer. He's certainly better than Sanchez, and but one thing I would say is I kind of want a guy that's more, that's already it. You know what I mean? Like, he just seems like kind of a young player, and he's doing well at Fulham, and that's great and all. But I kind of want a player with a little bit more, with elite status in his name. But listen, he definitely would be an improvement at Spurs. I would 100% take him. I would want to, like, looking at this back line, he's got the right mentality. If he's got the right hunger, and he's young and he can be developed, yeah, sure, why not? Go for it, man, because right now we need anybody to improve that back line.
Yeah, look, I agree with you there. I think he's, for me, and I think for a lot of Spurs fans, we would like to be that club that reach that elite level centre back, that get the Milan Skriniars, get the Kalidou Koulibalys, get the Rafael Varans. But I think in a general sense, Tottenham aren't really that club that are going to do that. But especially in the current political or current economical climate, I think it's a rather difficult one for Spurs to go out and try and get those big players. But if we're looking at the kind of the next caliber down, I know when you hear a player with Fulham, you're immediately kind of going to dismiss a level of his quality. But on loan from Leon, he's obviously a player that Leon have a lot of faith in for the future. A good side, and he's not the first player from that defensive Fulham that we've spoken about this even over this international break. I've spoken about Alphonse Areola. We've spoken a bit about Ola Aina as well. So it's no surprise that they're really good players, but it's no surprise that we're looking at players from Fulham because of how solid they've been defensively, how stubborn they've become. You look at Spurs struggled in their 2 games against them, and as you mentioned, they beat Liverpool as well. They are a good side, and they're really solid at the back, which is a big part of that success. But continuing on with what Gold was saying, he said Andersen is one of a number of centre-back Spurs are considering making a move for this summer, and I certainly have experience of dealing with the defenders' parent club, Leon, and their fierce negotiator, owner Jean-Michel Aulas, which is, look, a story for another day. We all know about him. Andersen would not come cheap, though, with 3 years left on his current contract and having caught the eye in the Premier League. Fulham have no option to buy the player, but would be expected to rival Spurs for a signature should they remain in the Premier League. Now, look, personally, I don't think Fulham rivaling us will be any bit of a threat in terms of the stature of the club. I think Spurs is an easy decision. And as well, if they say he won't come cheap, I think for financial reasons, I'd like to think Spurs would have the upper hand on Fulham on that one. But look, he's a player. Yeah, that's true. Ollie Watkins at Villa last season. But look, he's a player. He's a player I'd love to see join Spurs. I think he's, like I said, not that elite level player that we would be looking for, but we need a leader, and that's what Andersen Nikola said Spurs are looking for. We want a leader, and he's someone who, like we said, has worn the captain's armband more than half of the games he's played with Fulham. Again, look, it is only Fulham, but it's also he's wearing that armband. And I know, look, that is down to Tom Kearney being injured for, I think, all season so far. He was a brilliant midfield player. But Andersen, he's good in the air. He's good going forward. He's grabbed himself a goal or two from corners this season. He's commanding. He's a leader, and he will be that man who is in charge of our defence. And we'll go on to Alderweireld in a second, who apparently Spurs don't see as that kind of commanding player. But for me, Andersen is a really good option. I think it's one that would financially make sense, and also in terms of trying to build players for the next couple of years. He does have a few years before he gets to his prime. Maybe can be that replacement for Alderweireld in a year or two. But for me, it's one I'd love to see happen, and I think it is one that could realistically happen. And look, if Fulham go down, even better for us. They won't be rivaling us, but I don't think that will be an issue for us. But going on to a second target that we have, another player with leadership capabilities who has admirers within Tottenham is Brighton captain Lewis Dunk. Dunk does not fit the usual age profile for Spurs signings, but has been one of the most consistent performers in the Premier League in recent seasons, and is linked every summer with the top flights. Dunk.
You see, this is the one where, for me, it doesn't really make sense at all. I think with Joachim Andersen, he's a young defender. He's a prospect. He's got a lot of hype surrounding him. So I feel like that's a Spurs signing. But if we're gonna go for Dunk, who's 29, kind of like in his later years, he does have a lot of experience. But if we're gonna go for him, that's kind of, for me, what I would consider kind of like a low ambitious move, in my opinion. Not to discredit Dunk, I think he's a good player, and he is better than Dyer, and he is better than Sanchez. But you could say that about the 90% of the defenders in the Premier League, in my opinion. But he just wouldn't be that guy that will take Spurs to the next level, or be, a guy that can develop Spurs in the future. Now, I think Joachim Andersen is a little bit of a gamble, but he is a guy that, could really pay off if we sign him. If we're going to sign someone older, in my opinion, and it has to be an elite level center back. If we're going to sign someone older, it has to be either, a Ramos, it has to be either a Skriniar, or it has to be like, someone of a higher name. Or else we sign a prospect. And from my scene, I don't think that's going to be a signing that's going to happen, because from what I've seen in the target list, it's like you said, Spurs are looking to sign someone young. That's like what Spurs like to do. That's what Daniel Levy likes to do. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be an Andersen. I think it's going to be either an Andersen or a Konza or a Botman or a Milenkovic. I think it's going to be one of those younger center backs. But I do rate Dunk in the air. He's very good in the air. And there's areas where he could improve, but I just, with the age and he's not exact. I don't think he would improve Spurs all that much, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I think the one thing to add to that in terms of concerns is goal continues. The biggest obstacle with Dunk, other than his age for a club that buys young, is that he signed a new 5-year deal with Brighton last summer, and that will be reflected in a high price tag. So if we are spending a lot of money in a centre back, for me, Lewis Dunk is the last player that we need to bring in.
Absolutely.
29 years of age. Look, he has, I think, 1 or 2 caps to his name, but at 29 years of age, the fact that he's still at a level of a club like Brighton, who, don't get me wrong, play fantastic football, but they're not a European team, not even a mid-table Premier League team. They are, despite their good form this season, battling relegation, and what for me is a strange outlier of a season for them. But if we want to spend the money, let's get someone who's played at this level, or who is a consistent international player. Let's not go for Dunk, who it will probably be a last chance for him to make something of his career. I don't think that is a good option for Spurs.
I would say this also: the difference between Brighton and Fulham is Brighton. The only reason they're battling, they can battle out of relegation, is because they have a very good attack and a very good midfield. While Fulham, if you look at their style, they're a very steady, tight, hard team to break down, and they get a lot of draws. They scrape a lot of draws, so their defense largely carries, Fulham, where Brighton is mostly their attack. So, if you're gonna choose Joachim and Dunk, I think it's Joachim is the much easier option.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that one. But look, I think the best option for Marcelo, because he's one he's spoken about quite a while, is the next target that Alistair Gold mentions. He says another player on Tottenham's radar this summer is Fiorentina centre-back Nikola Milenkovic.
Absolutely.
The Serbia international have plenty of experience despite being 23 years old, with 28 caps to his name for his country, and is a near ever-present for his club in Serie A. He's also worn the captain's armband on a couple of occasions in the Coppa Italia this season as his leadership qualities grow. Another attractive element for Spurs is that Milenkovic's contract will have just 12 months left to run after the season ends, and that could give them plenty of wiggle room on his price if competition does not keep it high. The main problem for Tottenham would be the risk element of a deal for him, with the Serbian having no experience of the Premier League, although that did not prevent Spurs from trying to sign Skriniar last summer. Marcelo, look, you've spoken so much about Milenkovic, as I think we all have on Spurs YouTube. How excited are you that we're finally hearing from Goal that Spurs are actually looking at Milenkovic?
I mean, it's something I've always said, man. If we don't even look at this guy, or don't even have like a go at him, it'll be ridiculous to not even have a go at Milenkovic. He's one of the brightest prospects in Serie A. Every major club has been looking at him. You look at Juventus. I even think some other clubs like I think Inter has looked at him. A lot of the big Serie A clubs have looked at him and wanted him. And I think with this contract running out, I think you're going to see other clubs, bigger clubs. Like I think you don't be too surprised if PSG or Barcelona or Real even start looking at him. But with Ramos coming to the near end of his Real career, so I'm telling you, if we don't go for this guy, and we have an opportunity, and we don't go for this guy, I think Spurs are going to miss out big time. I think Levy's going to miss out big time. We need to go for Milenkovic. He's going to be a guy that, in my opinion, could improve us drastically. For me, he is already at that world class status. Unfortunately, he doesn't play for a club that's of that status. But if you watch his performance at Fiorentina, it's world class, man. He just everything he does is very top level. His clearance from his passing. Okay, yeah, Portugal. Jota did beat him twice in the air. I'm not gonna lie. That was I was shocked. I was shocked by that. But normally, you watch this guy. He is a machine, man, and his clearance rate is amazing. He's a very tidy with the ball. He's good at passing. He's an all around center back, and he's even played at right back, I think, sometimes, if I remember too correctly, at Fiorentina. So he's a guy that's very flexible. He's a flexible defender, and I think we need to go for him. I think we have to go for him, and if we don't, we're gonna miss out. It's gonna be one of that signing that we said, man, we should have really gone all out for. The only worries is Serie A is, like you said, Serie A is a much different, slower league than the Premier League. So there will be a time where he will have to adjust. But then again, he's only 23 years old. He does have pace. He's not like a turtle. He does have pace, so he can adjust. I think he can adjust to the Premier League. But that would be the only worry. My opinion is we need to get him alongside someone with Premier League experience. So maybe, like Joachim or, Akanza. The only issue is that we do need that left-footed center back, and everybody's saying Botman. But if you get Botman and, Milenkovic in the same season, that could be some problems because they will both have to adapt.
Yeah, I do agree with that one. And look, I think following on from what you were saying about Milenkovic, the one word I could think to describe him is commanding. You brought us up before about his aerial success rate. It was in the high 70s, which is absolutely insane. Most players would be in around the 50-60% mark, but high 70s. He's commanding in the air. He's commanding on the pitch in terms of organising his defence. Again, 23 years of age for Fiorentina, having worn the armband in the Coppa Italia this season is an incredible achievement, and I think is testament to his leadership qualities. Now, aside from the whole thing of needing to adapt to the Premier League, there will be a language barrier there first. So I think that maybe that is one of the reasons why Spurs are prioritising a player with Premier League experience, which could be, suggest that Milenkovic is there as a backup or just as an alternative option. If you want a player coming in to lead, if you want a player to potentially be the captain that replaces Hugo Lloris, I'm not sure Milenkovic is the best option for that specifically. But as a centre back in his own right, he is incredible.
But the thing
he's
is,
good in the air. He's
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Maddie.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say the thing is, I think we already have a captain to replace Hugo Lloris. We got Hoiberg,
Number
bro.
10.
He's
Oh,
the
Højbjerg.
Hoiberg. Come on. I mean, like, oh look, I love Kane, but for me, Hoiberg is the next captain, hands down. His mentality. We already have a captain in the making right there, Hoiberg. Kane is a leadership for different reasons. He leads by example. But Hoiberg is that guy that will get on your neck and just tell you, listen, you gotta play, you gotta sweat, bro. So for me, in my opinion, Hoiberg is already the next captain. I don't think we need to assign a new center back to be. I do think we need leaders on the pitch. I do think that having that mentality is important. But I think we already got a captain.
Yeah, look, maybe that is the case, but it wouldn't be any harm having another leader there at the back, which again is what Spurs are prioritising. But Milenkovic, I think, is a fantastic option. For me, he'd probably be just below Joachim Andersen in the pecking order of what we're looking for because of the kind of specifics that Spurs are looking for: Premier League experience and a leader. You want them to be able to speak English. It seems like a stupid thing to say, but it is one of the basic things there.
Yes.
Now, quickly, just want to touch on a few more things. Gola said we're not going to discuss them too much, but he says Tottenham held talks with Inter in Milan over the Slovakian Milan Skriniar, but could not close a £12 million difference in the valuation of a player who the Italian outfit are believed to have wanted around £45 million for. Skriniar, now 26, has found his place in the pecking order under Antonio Conte, going from warming the bench towards the end of the last campaign to a guaranteed starter this season. So that price tag will have only increased rather than dropped.
Yeah.
So I'd say Skriniar now is out of the question. Links with Leeds 21-year-old Sven Botman and Southampton's Yannick Vestergaard, who turns 29 before next season begins, are believed to be wide of the mark at this stage, but Tottenham will be testing the water for a number of centre-backs this summer. So Spurs not locking themselves into any specific option. They're looking through their options. They're really leaving themselves open to signing a number of players. Definitely keep an eye on as the summer progresses. Do make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, to be kept up to date with all of Tottenham's transfer activity. Now, in terms of why we do need a centre back, which I think a lot of fans will be able to answer quite easily.
I wonder why we need a new centre back.
But look, the interesting thing is, Spurs have the joint third best defensive record in the Premier League this season. However, as Alistair Gold says, there has been a clear lack of cohesion at times in the backline and a lack of leadership. Tottenham have led in 20 of their 29 Premier League games this season, but have gone on to win only 14 of them, dropping 13 points from leading positions. So poor record. We can't hold on to games. I think that is maybe more towards the tactics rather than the defensive issues themselves. But again, a conversation for another day. Eric Dyer is the most vocal of the centre-backs at the club, but the 27-year-old has struggled for consistency this season and has found himself drifting out of Mourinho's starting 11 in the Premier League in recent weeks. Marcelo, we're not going to touch on Dyer's ability. We're not going to touch on his consistency because we know all too much about that. But do you think Eric Dyer is a leader on the pitch?
No. You also,
that was easy.
Listen, there. Yes, okay, you can be vocal, but you also have to be a leader by example and a leader by, like emotion. Like, for example, like a Roy Keane, right? Roy Keane would get up your face, would shout at you, would demand you to be, on top of things. You'll be on your face, make sure you're ready. But at the same time, Roy Keane was a great footballer. He could play football, man. Same thing on Højbjerg. Højbjerg is a guy that will get on your face. Now, I'm not saying Højbjerg is, anything like technically like Roy Keane. Roy Keane is a legend, but Højbjerg will get on your face. You'll make sure that you're up for the game and ready and sweat for the badge. But Højbjerg is also a great footballer. He can play football, man. He's a great midfielder. He has the most tackles out of anybody in the Premier League. He's an amazing DM. He's an amazing defensive midfielder. And so you also have to lead by example. And Dyer, unfortunately, does not lead by example. He will be the first one to say, oh, Sanchez, don't do that. But he'll also be the same guy to also do that and do that. You know what I mean? You'll say don't give away a stupid penalty, but in the next second he'll give away a stupid penalty. So he doesn't you have to aspire people. You have to inspire your defenders. Your defenders have to kind of look at you and be like, that's a guy I want to play like. Like a Virgil van Dijk. Joe Gomez looks at Virgil van Dijk and says, you know what? I strive to play like that. And Eric Dyer doesn't demand that. Højbjerg demands that because it's just different. So no.
Yeah, look, I agree with you, to be honest. I don't think he is that leader. But Gold goes on to say, Toby Alderweireld, 32, is a talented and experienced centre-back, but is not seen as a loud organising presence in the back line. Former vice-captain Jan Vertonghen left the club last summer after his contract came to an end. Both younger defenders, Davinson Sanchez and Joe Rodon, need direction in their play if they are fully developed as centre-backs and show consistency in their performances. So Gold effectively saying... there are no leaders in that defence at the moment. Maybe Vertonghen was that presence in the past, but of course he's gone. Alderweireld hasn't really filled those boots. And the other options in there, I'd include Tanganga in that similar bracket. They're the ones who need to have a leader beside them rather than ones that will be their leader themselves. But look, that is the news. That is from Alistair Gold. I'll leave that article linked down in the description below. It's encouraging, I suppose, that Spurs are actively pursuing a leader, a Premier League experienced centre-back in this summer transfer window. Let us know in the comments below what you feel about this one. If you're happy with the targets we have identified, if you have any other suggestions, do leave them down in the comments below as well. And like I said, if you want to keep up to date with all things Tottenham Hotspur, including live watch-alongs, the Tottenham Fan Voice podcast, transfer news, match previews, reviews, and any other type of content you could want, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click the notification bell as well. Make sure to hit that like button as well if you have enjoyed this video. Thank you very much to Marcelo for his time this afternoon. And as always, to everyone who's tuned in, thanks for watching.
Come on, you Spurs.